Hold your fire! I'm a human!
Intros to games can vary on exactly what they're there to do for the player. Some get straight to the point and drop you into the action straight away, whilst others have a slow burn, taking their time to ease you into the systems and functions you'll be utilising on your playthrough. But Resident Evil 2 had something that, at the time, was new and fresh, and now ingrained into fans' heads. I'm talking about the run through Raccoon City to the police station. For most people, this section is just a barrier to the rest of the game, a hurdle to jump before the real meat of the game is dished up. But if you take a little more time to pay attention to the area that you're actually running through, it tells a story in and of itself. So let's take a closer look at Resident Evil 2's escape to the police station.
Resident Evil 2.
So starting the game isn't as simple as popping the game into the console and hitting the power button. This game gives you 2 CDs. At the time it came out, people was no stranger to games being printed on more than one disc. But the difference here was that Resident Evil 2 didn't use the discs in a linear way like most at the time, where you progress so far then need to switch discs before being able to carry on. This has a completely different way to utilise the 2 CDs. Each disc is the same campaign but separated into each character's version of events. This one puts you in control of Leon, a rookie copper on his first day of work in Raccoon City. Disc 2 puts you in control of Claire, a biker girl visiting town to find her brother Chris, one of the protagonists from the first game. But there's way more to this than just having different characters on each disc. Each player event's completely different to one another. Each character has their own set of hurdles to cross, and even have a different cast of side characters to interact with, as well as different weapons to use. Starting each disc will also give you a different cutscene to set the events in motion. Leon drives into town on his 4x4 to an eerily desolate street. The obvious answers to why it's so quiet is that the town's either A, been evacuated, or B, something more sinister's taken place. But Leon is new to the town, so he doesn't have any idea what to expect from this place. And that's when he stumbles across a person lying on the ground seemingly unconscious. He quickly realises that the town is infested with zombies, including the person on the road that he went to check on, and then he breaks for his escape. Claire, on the other hand, starts similarly by driving into town on her motorbike to find the streets empty as well. She walks into a bar hoping to find somebody, but instead she's jumped by a zombie. This is where the cutscenes cross over depending on which character that you picked. Then the 2 seemingly lone survivors buddy up to continue their journey. They manage to find the police car and they assume that it was safe, just for a couple minutes later to be jumped by a zombie that was sitting in the back seat the whole time, which then leads them to crash. Before they can even figure out what's happened, it's followed up by a petrol lorry being driven in by some dead bloke that you see in the cutscene earlier on, blowing the police car into pieces. Depending on which character you pick to play as, the cutscene will slightly vary at the end, with the police car either crashing front first or crashing from the rear. This means that Leon is always in the driver's seat, but being able to escape the lorry from either side, depending on which character you picked, putting your character into the correct position to start the game. The area that you play in for the first segment of the game is quite interesting to look at actually, because instead of it being a house like you was in the first game, you're instead roaming the streets. But before I start, I do have to point one thing out that's bothered me for a long time now. How comes during the intro cutscene the city looks like it's just been abandoned? The streets look neat and clean with nothing out of the ordinary, but as soon as you get into the game, the city looks like a bomb's hit it. Just an odd thing that's always played on my mind. But onto the actual game. On the surface, it's not that special, but if you take a moment to look at the pre-rendered backgrounds a little bit more, it tells a different story. You see the remnants of a once pedestrianised city that must have been infected with the T-virus so quickly or attacked with no knowledge that the bodies are still left in places like mannequins in a shop front window. So let's take a look area by area. There's not much we can find out from the first section of the game because, well, the lorry has decimated everything that was near it. All the cars nearby have smashed windows, dented panels, whilst the fire blazes on from the crash site. But if you move on just a bit, barricades and sandbags are placed around the junctions, making me wonder if this area was a major problem during the initial outbreak. Was this the major route that too many people took to escape, or was this put up to kettle the public so that the so-called important people could get out first? We'll never know, but it's an interesting part of the background that could have been host to so many different scenarios that led it to this point. The next area that you're in is Kendo's gun shop. This place is pretty interesting because at first glance it looks the same as the rest of the city, smashed up and destroyed, but let's peel away at the surface. The shop being in the state it's in is not due to zombies, but people instead. The floors are clean and devoid of any blood stains or dirt, the windows and signage are all still intact, and even certain items are still on the shelves. So what exactly happened here? Well, from what you can see on the screen, everything leads to the shop being raided by desperate people looking to defend themselves, breaking only the glass to the cabinets holding guns and ammunition, leaving only scraps of handgun bullets for you to add to your arsenal. The picture also gets bigger when Kendo reveals to you that by the time he noticed that anything was wrong, that the entire city was already infested with zombies. This shows the speed at which the outbreak took hold. Then, the death of Kendo. This is pretty sad to me because I've always had the theory of why this happened. It's the player's fault that he dies. Think about it. He'd been hauled up here just fine until you arrive. Not only did you come from a raging explosion getting the attention of everything nearby, but you lead them straight to his front door. And just by talking to him, it creates a moment of him to have his guard down. So, whilst you're running around these shops stealing a remaining stock of ammo, the zombies' sheer numbers smash through the storefront window, making old Kendo tonight's dinner. So next time you watch this happen and steal the shotgun or crossbow from his still warm corpse, think about why it happened as well, and you may see this scene in a new light. The next area had the opportunity to be so creepy, but I understand why it wasn't so. After leaving the shop, you're taken to a back alley with a basketball court. The developers could have made this extra chilling by adding zombified kids or teenagers roaming the court, which would have been a real oh shit moment for me, showing that nobody is exempt from the virus taking hold, including kids. This would really make the tragedy hit home, especially for adults playing the game. But what we get is still pretty creepy because it's still in an area where kids once congregated, but now turned into a square of dead people waiting for their next meal. Who knows? Maybe the kids have already been eaten. They also missed an opportunity to put a zombie holding a basketball here, but it was the PS1 and limitations and all that. After making your way through some alleyways filled with dirt and graffiti, you end up in what looks to be a food court of some sort, but now decimated by crashed cars and decorated with blood and dead bodies. This one guy didn't even manage to finish his meal before becoming a table mat. Interestingly though, there are barricades also put up in this area, which gets me thinking again. How long has this guy's body just been sitting there? I mean, there's still food on his plate, and from the looks of it, he was attacked from behind. If a barricade's been put up, the cafe he's sitting in must have been closed due to the outbreak. So has the body just been lying there the entire time? From this screen, you can clearly hear the sounds of flesh being eaten, but you can't see where the sound's coming from. Just for it to be revealed as a group of nasties on their hands and knees feasting on a corpse. With them being preoccupied, you can either kill them without their knowledge or let them stay distracted and continue on with the chance of them spotting you. Without knowing what's on the next screen, you have to quickly make up your mind how you're going to deal with this. Meaning either a safe passage but leaving you with hardly any bullets, or to take the risk of running without knowing what's going to jump out at you. When you get to the next screen, you'll notice you're being blocked by a car that's been tipped on its head, and a bus looking mostly still intact. The only way to get through is to cut through the bus. As soon as you step foot on the vehicle, you're rewarded with a box of ammo. This time though, it's harder to justify not using them. The signs are there straight away. Blood stains cover the floor. The now familiar sound of zombies dragging themselves towards you is also present. The camera plays a nice role in heightening the suspense, with it blocking everything from your view, meaning that you have to think fast. The sound of zombies creeping closer gets nearer, and you still have no sight of the enemy, so moving forward is the only option. Luckily for the brave players who step forward, you'll see that the noise was coming from a zombie that can't use its legs, instead clawing its way towards you by dragging its own dead weight across the bus. With the enemies in view, you also get a better view of the bus revealing passengers' corpses littered around the vehicle. One of the corpses looks like he's had his head either smashed against the window or shot through the head. Maybe somebody see him turning and decided to sort him out before it was too late, putting him out of his misery. Just before you leave, at the other end of the bus, you see the driver draped over his steering wheel. This must have been caused by the crash. But if the crash created such an impact, why is there a random suitcase just sitting on the chair, seemingly unmoved? There was enough impact to shatter the glass all over the floor, so why did the case manage to stay perfectly perched on the chair? Anyway, leaving the bus exposes what caused the damage. A couple of dustbins. Really? A dustbin caused this amount of damage to the bus and the people inside? And the bin just had its lid knocked open a little? Come on, serious? Anyway, moving on, you get an ironic view of a fire engine on fire while sitting on top of the body of a policeman. Of all the vehicles to be on fire, a fire engine. The next area brings you to the destination, the police station. Home base, somewhere safe, a place to have a breather. Well, it is at first glance, but that'll have to be a subject for another video. Taking a look at the surroundings of the city that you've just fought your way through to get to the police station, you can see stories being told, though sometimes contradictory. It's mainly if you consider the time frame of how the events took place that you can see these problems, like the bodies in the cafe still being there even though the police barricades was put up. Didn't they want to clear the area from bodies? Surely the cafe was closed when the barricades was put up, so why would they just leave bodies? That would not only be disgusting to be around, but a potential threat to either become a zombie or just be carrying the virus. But to be honest, I think it's more down to the fact that the artists wanted to make the destruction visually appealing, with certain aspects sticking out more than others, making it clear that you're in a bad situation and that standing in the same place for too long will get you in trouble. For the sake of this video, I've looked at these scenes for way too long and scrutinising every inch to try and find the story behind the events. Maybe in the future I'll do an analysis on the police station to see if the surroundings and backgrounds can tell us anything about the events going on around the player as well. But that'll have to be in another video. Well, I hope you enjoyed this look at the first part of Resident Evil 2. This is by far one of my favourite games. So tell me what you thought. Do you like these videos of me analysing the shit out of everything in these games? Let me know in the comments below. If you do like them, I'll carry on doing them. If not, give me some suggestions in the Discord server. Links down below. Like the video if you liked it. Subscribe to the channel if you're not already. And I'll see you in the next video.